Yamidam Pashyan Savai Bhagavata Uttamaha. Translation: even while engaging his senses in contact with their objects, one who sees this whole world as energy of Lord Vishnu is neither repelled nor elated. He is indeed the greatest among devotees. In Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna is being asked about what are the symptoms of a Sthita Prajna. And then there are various characteristics of Sthita Prajna being described. What is the first symptom of someone whose consciousness is steady in transcendence? The first in the series. Prajahati yada kaman sarvan partha manogatan atmannevatmanastushtaha sthita prajnastadochyate. One who gives up desires for sense gratification arising out of mental concoction is called Sthita Prajna. So in our lives, there are 3 levels of training we will go through. First is we see material sense objects. And as soon as we see them, there is a desire for enjoying them, sense gratification, which immediately arises in our body, in our mind. And then using our spiritual intelligence, we curb that desire and decide to use it only to serve Krishna. Else keep aloof from it. Then the second level is, by repeated practice like this, we see material sense object as material sense object, but very much intellectually we immediately appreciate that it is meant for serving Krishna. As I was saying in the class in the morning today, that this whole material world is a paraphernalia meant to serve the Lord. And thus, we immediately put it in the service of the Lord, although there is some slight intellectualization involved in the process. And in the third level is that we don't see material sense objects as such. We see them directly as service objects. The whole paraphernalia around us, like this verse, Vishnur Mayam Idam Pashyan. We see material creation, people, objects, situations as directly as service paraphernalia. There is not much intellectualization involved there. It is just a spontaneous desire to serve. And such a devotee is always floating in happiness. Even in the material world. He says, Vishwam Purnam Sukhayate. So coming to our discussion for today, the title is Responsible Engagement of Resources. Why should we responsibly engage resources that are given to us? What happens if we do that? Krishna will give us more to engage in his service. Okay, no comments, but fine, thank you. Okay, first of all, they are not ours. It's a wrong understanding that they are meant for our gratification. So, by responsibly engaging them, our misconception that it is meant for my enjoyment goes away. Any other?
Today,
Hold below.
you were saying yesterday, if you're not responsible for small things, we become irresponsible for big things such as character.
Yes.
We lose our integrity.
To the degree we are responsible in dealing with small things, we become responsible in dealing with big things. Any other? Yeah, Antardip Prabhu.
To the degree we engage everything in Krishna service, we become satisfied because that's the original purpose of everything.
Okay, that's like watering the root of the tree, we will become satisfied. And Krishna will become pleased with us. Wonderful. In connection with this discussion, which I just now had, we will become Sthita Prajna. We'll actually not be allured or hateful of material creation around us. But we will develop a vision where we see everything as paraphernalia meant for serving Krishna. So, which are the verses that tell us that this world's entire paraphernalia is owned and controlled by the Lord? Ishavasimidam sarvam. Which verses tell us that the jivas are also property of God? Apareyam itastvanyam prakrutim vidhi me param jiva bhutam mahabaho yayedam dharete. What tells us that material ingredients of this world belong to Krishna? Bhumirapo analo vayu kham manaha buddhirevacha ahankara iti yam me bhinna prakruti rashtadha. Krishna is saying my separated energy. Now, are there any verses in scriptures that tell us how should we look at matter and how should we look at other jivas? Anasaktasya vishayan yatharham upayunjataha nirbandha krishna sambandhe yuktam vairagyam uchyate. The definition of connected renunciation. Yukta vairagya. So we know there are three types typically. Karmis, Jnanis and Bhaktas. So Karmis, what do? They romanticize this material world. They think that it is meant for their enjoyment. They want to do romance with Maya. And then Maya gives Avaranatmika and Prakshapatmika in return. And then there are Jnanis. What do? They demonize the material world. They say it is all Maya, it is all bad. The more you go into it, you will get entangled, and thus we better keep on separating matter and spirit and keep focusing on spirit. Let go of the matter. So Karmis romanticize, Jnanis demonize. What do Bhaktas do? Utilize. They utilize. They know that this matter is ultimately connected to spirit to be engaged in his service. So all of us, especially as leader, are given a wonderful opportunity to develop this vision in our life. Every time we come across resources in Krishna's service, we should start looking at them as such. Any businessman, when he has to hand over his business to his son, typically gives him X amount of money and tells him start up your own venture. Let's see how you use it. And when the son very responsibly uses the money and multiplies it, then what he does? He gives more. And then when he further does the responsible work, eventually a stage comes where he hands him over the entire business. All controls given to that particular son. Same way Krishna is also observing, he gives us a small thing, one laptop or a mobile or 10 people to preach to, and he gives us some money or he gives us some office, in some corner of the temple. And then Krishna is watching, what does this fellow do? Sitting there. And when Krishna says he's very responsibly using the resource, then Krishna gives more. And then even more and even more, like that. And to personalities like Prabhupada or Narada Muni, for them, they have such freedom. You can see Narada Muni is going into the bedrooms of Krishna in Dwarka. You know, in his visits to all the palaces. Now, what kind of freedom is that? Anywhere he can go at any point of time. Full access to any part of Lord's creation. And he can do whatever he wants with it. Why? Because he is so much in tune with the Lord's desire, so much service oriented, that there is no such a thing as no, that belongs to Krishna and this belongs to devotee. So therefore this topic, responsible engagement of resources, is something that will really make us very advanced in Krishna consciousness if we take it very seriously. Can you recollect some pastimes of Prabhupada where Prabhupada demonstrated this principle? Prabhupada said, I am seeing what you are not seeing. And what was that? The tap that was running with water, unclosed. Somebody had thrown away old carpet. Prabhupada asked it to be brought and put in temple hall. Okay. They cleaned it and brought it. Okay. Some Mayavadi organization gave their leaflets to devotees, bunch of them, and the devotees were very angry. They were about to throw them away. Prabhupada said, don't throw it away. And they were wondering what happened. Prabhupada said, give it to everybody, one. And they distributed it. And Prabhupada said, now serve prasadam on it, on those paper. So yukta vairagya. Why waste anything? That is Detroit mansion. Fisher mansion. So Alfred Ford Ambarish Das gave Prabhupada X amount of money. Prabhupada gave it to that landlord. They purchased the property. And Prabhupada said, now before I came I had no money in pocket. After now I am leaving, I have no money in pocket. But in the meantime the mansion belongs to Krishna. That's what has happened. So wonderful. Yes?
There were some trucks going. So one devotee was very curious to know that Prabhupada is impressed by American trucks.
Is it switched on?
Hare Krishna. So that devotee was saying Prabhupada is impressed by American trucks. But then Prabhupada, he asked Prabhupada, what you are seeing? Prabhupada said that I am seeing that this is very good for Rath Yatra.
Rath
You
Yatra.
can use it for Rath Yatra.
Very good. Yes.
Like once Prabhupada gave is one of the coats for laundry. So then disciple, he asked him like, did you check the pockets? He said no. Prabhupada said little bit money was like some cents money was there. Prabhupada said what? So the disciple said, Prabhupada, no, it's a very,
Don't mind.
very little bit of money, what it matters. Prabhupada said, and he was saying like, Prabhupada, you are spending so much lakhs and crores of rupees for building temple, it's just a little bit of money. So Prabhupada said this, like I can spend millions of rupees for Krishna, but for Maya's service I cannot spend even a single cent.
Wonderful. So our founder Acharya, by his own behavior, has set an example how we should be very careful with every single energy that is kept at our disposal, that we very diligently use it in Krishna's service. Now here are some definitions. What does resource mean? The means available to achieve an end or to fulfill a function are called resources. Stock or supply of money, materials, staff, and other assets that can be drawn by a person or an organization in order to function effectively. That's called a resource. Unfortunately, in Western world, because of high impersonalism, they call human beings also as resource, and surprisingly it's there in this manual also, human resource. Well, the Vedic understanding is not so. We don't see human beings as resource. What do we see human beings as then? Of course, they are meant to be used in Krishna's service, they are Krishna's energy. In that sense, you can say resource. But not in the westernized mindset way, where you treat humans also as an impersonal commodity. You know? Like a machine. Yes. Manushya Bal. Human Resource Ministry. अभी चालू हो गया नया. So, how does Ishopanishad tell us to look at other living beings around us? Yasmin sarvani bhutani atmaiva bhudvijanatah tatra ko moha kashokaha ekatvam anupashyatah. Then the next verse. Yastu sarvani bhutani atmannevanupashyati sarvabhuteshu chatmanam tato na vijugupsate. So the translations are very ecstatic. He who sees systematically everything in relation to the Supreme Lord, who sees all living entities as his parts and parcels, and who sees the Supreme Lord within everything, never hates anything or any being. Tato na vijugupsate. So this vision counteracts envy. And then the next verse says, Yasmin sarvani bhutani. One who always sees all living entities as spiritual sparks, in quality one with the Lord, becomes a true knower of things. What then can be illusion or anxiety for him? Tatra ko moha ka shokaha. No moha, no shoka in life. If you start seeing other living beings as Krishna's parts and parcels. Typically in our life, in our dealing with people around us, we see them on 4 levels. The first level is that we see people around us as problem. And the response that it generates is we get irritated with them. You will see sometimes when we are standing in a queue for a long time to get a ticket for a train, or sometimes our mentality becomes kya hai sab, all problem only, these people around. So interestingly, in this world, the world is a mirror of our own consciousness. So because of that, when we see people as problem, they become a problem. So in our temples, certain devotees, we see this person is a problem for me. They become more and more of a problem. Then the second level of seeing them is that they are in my life as an opportunity to learn. Now this is an interesting mind frame to look at people. They are here to teach me something, and they are here to teach me tolerance, humility, or whatever. So we see them as such. Then we become no more victim of their behavior. We think how I should respond in such a way that I see opportunity to grow in their association. Third level is that it's called mirror. We don't see people as problem or just opportunity to learn, but we actually see them as a reflection of what is going on inside of us. Just like in mirror, when you see, it accurately shows you, if you have overgrown beard or mustache, the mirror shows it as it is. Similarly, this verses actually how the living beings around us are responding to us is not only part of the world that they are problemed with, it is actually the part of the world that is inside of us, our problemed consciousness. So the reciprocations that they are offering to us are actually because of our own anarthas in our own consciousness, which we need to rectify. Like that a devotee sees. One time one person, I think Prabhupada had gone to Germany and he gave some class and he very badly insulted Prabhupada. So much so that the devotees were standing there, they wanted to leap on him and finish him up. And Prabhupada, they were waiting for Prabhupada to make an indication. And Prabhupada did not say anything. So the devotees later on went and asked Prabhupada, Prabhupada, he was saying such horrible things against you. Why did you not allow us to finish him up? And Prabhupada said, no, maybe in my previous life I must have offended him. And he was just coming back and giving that quota to me. So that's an interesting level of seeing people as mirrors. So in the mirror, if you see a bad picture, what do? You bash him. You go and clean your own face, right? You don't say, "Arey, what are you showing here?" So that's a way of seeing. And the fourth level of seeing is this verses that we saw, Ishopanishad 5 and 6. Very interesting verses. We see jivas as parts and parcels of the Supreme with whom we are supposed to lovingly deal, because they are part of God's family. No matter what they are doing with us. Now that's height of seeing. And we see this in all great Prahlad Maharaj. His father did so many atrocities. And what was his thinking? My father is making fun of me or something like that. He's playing with me. That's what Prahlad was thinking. Haridas Thakur, when he was beaten, and those Jallad, executioners, they said that we will die if you don't die. Then he actually, for their sake, appeared to die. So much so that he actually prayed for them that let them not get any reaction for their offense that they were committing. And same we see the case of Jesus Christ and so many examples in scriptures. So this is a very, very different level of consciousness at which we deal with people around us. So can you tell me, what do you think is the level that most of us are right now situated at? He's saying one. I'm situated here. I see everybody around me as a problem. Generally here, right? We should at least be situated here. That is, people are here planted for a purpose in my life. You understand? Planted for a purpose. And they are not, again, impersonal resources. They are actually purposeful. They are conscious beings who are meant for certain contribution. They are helping us develop our muscles of self-development and loving relationships so that we can become better. Now, with this in the background, please read that quote. One of the qualifications is Daksha.
One.
Sadmasu. We can see in all of our lives there was a time when we have shown such a, like a transition phase maybe, that we were in material circles, then we suddenly started becoming spiritualist, and in between there was some zone where we had some callousness towards responsible utilization of resources. So next page talks about categories of resources. Question. Yeah. His question is, there is areas where I don't have influence in the temple, and if there is something going waste or getting damaged, then I can only give suggestion, but I can't actually do more than that. So what should I do? It depends on what is the nature of that wastage or damage. Usually there is a hierarchy even in wastage and damage. When we see that people, their emotions and their spiritual well-being is put into hazard, that is a priority situation. And sometimes there is something called as a planned neglect, so that you prepare the other Vaishnava for a relationship with you, where you will gain influence to make them responsible. So in the beginning, it is not that in every situation you get into, you start correcting, putting things in place, because usually that may distance us from those devotees. So if it is about spiritual well-being and the communal harmony of devotees, we should immediately talk it out to whoever the concerned people. If not that, then next level and sort it out. But if it is certain, I won't call it trivial matters, but at least not as grave in reaction to this, some uncleanliness or some wastage, it's better that we build our quality of relationship with those Vaishnavas. Also arrange for those leaders to get I-leads or whatever, higher training and association, and then at a certain appropriate point of time we should give that input, that this one thing must be stopped. So we need to sometimes patiently wait for that. So there are two concepts there: correcting mistakes correctly, which means sometimes the way we correct a mistake is another big mistake. So we have to learn to correct a mistake correctly. And second is, as they say, in the IC engine, internal combustion engine, the spark plug has to give spark when the piston is on the compression side. If the spark plug gives sparks in the expansion side of the piston, then the whole fuel and energy goes waste, and it only produces smoke, no power. I hope this much mechanical engineering is okay here because I come from that background. So similarly, when to give enlightenment or correction, that timing is very important. You see, Narad Muni went to Chitraketu and he was telling him, "Arey, don't get attached for not having a son, just perform your bhakti, go back to Godhead." He was not in the mood to hear all that advice. He said, "I want a son first." Then Narad Muni said, "Okay, Harsha Shok." And then when Harsha Shok gave really misery, that time when Narad Muni came and spoke the same knowledge, Chitraketu and all his wives, they immediately accepted. So that's called a sense of timing. So this has to be one of the features of a leader, that he understands that sense of timing, when to give correction and when to withhold with a higher purpose in mind. So both are there, and it depends on the seriousness of the matter. So there are categories of resources: finance, human resources, property, which is immovable, like buildings and sthavar they call. Then jangam, assets that are movable, like vehicles and even your laptops. So these resources, we should learn to see them as Balram's expansion. That is the beginning of responsibly dealing with them. Generally we are very okay to see, a mridanga or a kartal or the arti ghee lamp of the paraphernalia as spiritual. It's really easy for us to see like. But to see little more dravya like laptop as spiritual takes some time. So we should develop this vision right in the beginning. Property, Prabhupada says, just like in this Krishna consciousness movement, all the activities, they are not material, they are all spiritual. But still, because it is being enacted in the material world, we have also so much anxiety because we are in the material world. Although that anxiety is also bhakti, it is nothing else. It is not material. When we are anxious, how to protect the property, how to push on this movement, how people will take it, what line of action, strategic planning we shall take. This is also anxiety. But that anxiety is for Krishna, therefore it is bhakti. So please carefully read for a minute or two. Property protection means identifying risks and general practices in dealing with resources. Please ask question if something is unclear. Deviate the property to some non-GBC authorized use. Yeah, sometimes non-GBC authorized use. For example, your temple gets a gift deed of land, or a temple gets a gift deed of a flat. Some old life member of ISKCON, in his will, he writes off his flat in the name of the ISKCON temple locally. So sometimes the authority there may utilize that property. Let's say they get a flat and the in charge starts a personal business in that flat, or they get a land, he starts his own goshala there. So it is very unclear because he is handling it. What exactly is happening, the outside persons can't know, but internally it's actually non-GBC authorized use. So he is using it for personal purpose. It is not actually authorized by GBCs. So that has to be very carefully taken into consideration. And the same applies to small things also. It's not that only big things. Hira chor and khira chor we say, na? Sometimes somebody gifts you a laptop or even for that matter some 2000 rupees in donation, and instead of showing that money to the temple authority or to whoever the ashram in charge, we ourselves decide to bypass that somewhere else. That is also non-GBC authorized usage. So best is the money gifted be deposited and then withdrawn with due signature. Usually if you have signing authority, generally there are two people involved. One more person is also aware of for what purpose is this being taken out. So that's the best way to deal with money. In fact, in our sannyas ministry and the guru ministry, the candidates have to stay with a certain superior who observes them in terms of their dealings with women, money and ISKCON properties, and then only they are sanctioned to become sannyasi or a guru. So that's an important aspect. Any other? Sometimes our devotees are very naive. They put too much faith very quickly in anybody who shows ati bhakti. Ati Bhakti Chorair Lakshan. We have that famous pastime of Mr. Price affair. How he cheated devotees. I think it was $5,000 or something. And Prabhupada was fierce, in wanting to get back that money. But devotees actually committed a mistake. It was so difficult. And finally somehow they managed. So it's very elaborately given in Leelamrut. Mr. Price affair. So not only we have to think of how to engage this property in Krishna's service, the yoga part, we also have to think of what are the risks involved. The kshema part, yoga kshema of the property. How to protect it from misuse. Like usually we see our devotees put ACs in the gift shops, and then many times in the summertime very never to use AC kind of audience comes and spends 2-3 hours nicely in the shop, because they feel this is the samsara dava nadalita loka, here is cool atmosphere. They don't have such any service, nor do they want to purchase anything, but it's just that it's conducive. So it could be so subtle sometimes how people may misuse a particular property. Okay, next section, finances. What does Srila Prabhupada say about finances? Please read one by one.
What does Srila Prabhupada say about finance? Along with our preaching and propaganda work, we must also give attention to financial matters. Otherwise, the whole thing will collapse and it will be a farce. Srila Prabhupada, bookkeeping is the most important item. As you are growing in stature, our accounting system should become very perfect. It is very important that the accounts be kept very clear so that we retain our income tax exemption. I am so glad to learn that the scientific bookkeeping system is being introduced in our different centers. If possible, some instructions may be sent here in Bombay for this scientific bookkeeping system. Here in India, although they are trying their best, still it is not satisfactory. Perfect accounts means every information regarding financial and stock situation must be ready for immediate reference, and not a single farthing should be wasted. You write that you are very careful utilizing funds that are sent for the particular purpose. In all matters of management, this careful attitude must be taken.
Please take note of that. If somebody gives you money for spending for deities, somebody gives you money for spending for food relief activities, prasadam, somebody gives you money for some festival related expense, we should be very careful to utilize that money for that purpose, because it is that jiva who has expressed that desire to use that energy in that way. And if you remain transparent like that, you will see that those persons will be inspired to give more, and also the Lord will be pleased with our sincere approach to the management of the finances. The typical tendency is that if the temple construction is going on, all donation given goes to construction. It just doesn't matter what purpose that was for. So it may sound as a very wise, so to say, cutting corner kind of a move, but it will neither lead to credibility, nor will it lead to actually flourishing situation of various services. It may actually become that one-sided, one type of services may actually become enhanced by such approach. In fact, sometimes it is good that if you badly need money for a particular cause, and the money has been given by that person for some another cause, that you go back to him and request him that currently in our temple there is a crisis where we need badly money for prasadam of the devotees. Is it okay if we utilize this money in that direction? And they will appreciate that sincerity from our side. Every time somebody gives you a donation, ask them this frank question: where do you want to utilize this Lakshmi in service of Krishna? And as often they will say, I don't know what it is. So then you tell them there are 15 options. And sometimes they choose, and sometimes they say, no Prabhuji, you decide. Because they have too much faith in us. They say, you decide what you want to utilize it for. Then if you have a managerial, pending thing on mind, you tell it. You say, is it okay if I use it for this purpose? They say, yes, you can use. So one has to be very careful in this matter. This transparency will go a long way. Another thing to be done, every time somebody gives us a donation, we should send back a receipt. Sometimes they tell us, nahi Prabhuji, wo aapke liye hai Prabhuji. It is not for temple. Temple we will give Prabhuji, separately we will give you, don't worry. You have seen that? People say like this. They will say, you use this money only for your personal purpose. So we should take that money, put it into account, get a receipt out, give it to that person. And then they will shout at you, Prabhuji, aapko bola tha Prabhuji, temple mein mat dalo Prabhuji. You tell them, yatha taror moola nishechanena trupyanti tat skanda bhujo pashaka. What is the problem? It's all going to the Lord. I will tell you, although they may express displeasure, they would actually respect you for doing that. They will know that this person, he is an honest man. He puts money directly in the temple and gives me a receipt. So these are some things, and do that you will actually get more donations from those people. And these are very great matters of credibility. Once a bad reputation comes, people understand that this person is golmal, he does something else with the money that you give him, we are finished. Then the whole purpose becomes spoiled. Read ahead, next.
The daily collections from the temple should be counted before 3 persons together. The accountant has nothing to do with these things. He simply notes down the figure in the books. This is how it should be done.
Yeah. Accountants usually are also hired people, employees. And sometimes our devotees are so naive, they hand over account department to such people. Because they don't want to get into that clutter of, tally and this and that. Very risky. So in our temples, we should appoint very authorized, rich Vaishyas, usually. They like counting money. You should see the smile on their face when they're counting money. So in our temple, we have some devotees, Mehtas and all these Bhandaris. They come. And every time post Janmashtami or whatever, they sit with the hundi and they do counting of money. And they feel so happy, They really feel temple gives me such a honor, to count Lord's money. And they really do a first class job. Very honestly, they will count. And ek paisa ka hisab rakhte ho. And they deposit it. The accounting fellows are not involved in doing that. They only keep the figure written somewhere. That's all. So this is very important. It has happened many times in ISKCON that because of trusting not to be trusted people, lot of money has been stolen by accountants and others. Go ahead.
I want that all centers follow the following procedure for handling the money. Whatever income is there, every cent must be given to the treasurer. Immediately he records it in the book. Then daily he deposits everything in the bank. For the expenditure, he withdraws from the bank the petty cash by checking signed by himself and the president. Then the expenditure are checked by the president to see how the money is being spent. The important thing is that all the monies must be given to the treasurer, and he records it, and every day he deposits everything in the bank, and whatever is spent, that also is withdrawn from the bank. This will stop the embezzling that is going on. Please arrange for this and informs me.
What do you mean embezzling? Misappropriation. And why bank is to be involved in between? Yes. No, I am asking what is the point in depositing in bank and withdrawing from the bank? वो ट्रेजरर ट्रस्टवर्दी है ना, मंदिर में रखने का, उसको बैंक में जाने आने में समय क्यों देना है? Yes. Okay, very good. When the government tax checking people come, we'll have actual proofs for all this money earned and spent. Yes. Yes. Sometimes our tendency is when we see money in front of us, we want to spend it without proper cause also. But when the money is not in sight, it is there in the bank, then we only spend what we need for. So that's another one. Any other? Yes. We get interest for that money. And usually bank, hopefully, are more safe. They have their own systems for taking care of your money that is deposited in their place. Sometimes in a temple you can't create such a very foolproof system of, and even if it gets stolen there are insurances and things like that additionally. Because such a huge money, sometimes crores rupees or lakhs of rupees, you keep in your own residential area is a very risky thing to do. So very good. So you may say, Prabhu, I am not involved with finances. Why are you telling all these things with me? But at some point or time or other, we will have to deal with this. Whichever small or big project you start, this will come in picture. And if you are not careful in doing this, you will earn blemish. So please read on the next page silently the points that are given about simple guidelines for proper financial accounting. Okay, I'll ask you a question. What you are not very good at these things, what will you do? There are people who can't understand what is going on sometimes. What will you do? Yes, bro. Yes, we should get some trustworthy people who are good at handling finances and hand over these things to them. Yes, you are saying something, bro?
It's very difficult for us to plan weekly budgets and monthly budgets. This is financial accounting, management. It's not. We don't know. It's not. That business is not meant for us.
Yes, but all of us as leaders should learn budgeting. We should learn. On the next page, it is given income statement and balance sheet. These two things very crucial. So budgeting, income statement, balance sheet. These three, this is not going to be possible for me as a part of this course to sort it out for you. But go and talk to your temple, whoever are handling that, to teach it to you. ये थोड़ा समझाओ होता क्या है. And we should all, it's already taught. And please take it very seriously, especially these financial matters. ISKCON can make or mar its reputation very seriously if these things are not paid attention. We have this classic case where some devotee started earning too much money when he started a temple project, And he became so allured by the prospect of having it a separate account with a separate entity away from ISKCON that it led eventually to a philosophical controversy, which has got originally nothing to do with philosophy. It had all to do with wanting independence of the institution. So when money comes in picture, properties come in picture, resources handling independent of others' control over it comes in picture, even big devotees have got allured. So let us not take this very cheaply, thinking also what, abhi to mere ko ek mobile hi mila hai, I am using it without any permission, It will go, that mentality will go in bigger range in due course of time. We know that Sunda Upasunda story. Sunda and Upasunda were very thick brothers and they were never to quarrel. And the benediction was nobody will kill them except they two if they fight with each other. So that was the benediction they had got, and they were so dead sure that we will never quarrel with each other. And they started harassing devatas together. So much trouble. So then Lord Brahma arranged to send one, what's her name? Tilottama. One lady, she came and she did this with him and that with that fellow, and eventually started a big quarrel between them, and then they had a big war. They fought and destroyed each other. So this Tilottama in our case represents these resources sometimes. Two good devotees who are exceptionally good friends and never to quarrel, and and it has happened in ISKCON. There was this spiritual sky incense business started by two devotees together. In the initial stages it flourished like anything, and they started supporting some of the major projects in ISKCON also. They are funding it. And then Prabhupada told them, this is too much, you are going into business, this selling incense and whatever other things. They started getting into then jewelry, then paintings and other things also. Prabhupada said, this is not our business is books. But they didn't listen. And it expanded. At a certain point of time, there was such a big fight over the profits that it was like cats and dogs. And the whole thing shut down. There was big financial losses. Many devotees left the movement after that incident happened. Some of the big devotees left the movement. So sometimes our devotees are too naive. They get into any kind of dealing with anybody, and without any legal documentation, on some MOU, which is verbal, I agree, you agree, they start doing something together, and eventually there is a big issue, and to the degree that they destroy their spiritual lives. So let us not be so naive. Please understand that your dealings with people will have three levels of implications: Bhauma, Swarga, and Adhyatma. For example, Kauravas and Pandavas having a war with each other. That's on superficial level. The cause of that is the Kauravas' vicious mentality. Behind that there is another level reason where demigods and demons, who are cosmic heroes and villains, they are actually wanting control over the universe, and they have incarnated in the guise of Kauravas and Pandavas. And behind that there is another reason. Krishna wants to descend and give transcendental knowledge, Bhagavad Gita, to the whole humanity. Now you may wonder, iska kya connection hai resource ke sath? So the connection is, two devotees come together, they start up a venture. Recently only one devotee offered me 3 flats, saying that you start a Gurukul for devotee kids. So we are telling them, wait a minute, it's not that easy. First is, you have to do Vyavahara. Vyavahar means that flat will be in your name, not ISKCON name. Because tomorrow you should not say that, oh, they cheated me, they didn't run the things the way I wanted them to run. So Vyavahar means put legal documents and clarified expectations on paper. Nothing in air. That is called Vyavahar. तो आपका विचार बहुत noble है कि we should give education to devotee kids. That's nice. But when it comes to practical, you put that in place first. You have to have legal documents and clarified expectations from each other in written form. What are you expecting from me, and what are I am expecting from you. And then there is another level of this dealings is called bhavana, in which the two devotees involved have a mutual understanding because of their long-standing relationship. You know, there is no, what do you call, there is no selfishness involved, at least initially. So that's nice. Bhavana, okay, no problem. But first Vyavahar, then Bhavana. And then behind that is Krishna's mission. You know, both of them are disciples of a guru, and you know, they are doing the work of the Lord, and they have something to flourish as a service. That's fine, no problem. Needed. But this is the sequence with which you go, not ulta. Especially when it comes to financial matters. So we should be exceptionally careful with these things. It is another funny thing. Sometimes, recently it happened. Somebody gave some donation. I and Antardipuru decided that we will purchase, you know, some major, nice, needed gift for our superior, which he needs for his service. And we conveyed to that person, is it okay if we use it for such purpose? Yes, Prabhuji. Whatever you want to use, Prabhuji, no problem, Prabhuji. And then later on, we didn't deposit that Lakshmi because to purchase that item, you know, it takes time to get it from US, arrange this, that. In the meantime, that fellow did not get his receipt that this item is, the money is deposited and it is part of the Janmashtami collection in his name and things like that. So he immediately called the accounts. Mera receipt kidhar hai? The account said the money aaya nahi hai. So then they called us and we told them, Prabhuji, we asked you, we will not deposit the money now. We will keep it like this. And when we make the payment, we will give you the receipt of that purchased article equivalent of your donation. And you said yes for this. But he said yes, but he didn't mean yes. It was no. And it took us some time to understand that he is not very happy about this arrangement. That he actually wanted that money to be given to Janmashtami, for Janmashtami fund, to be used for deities, something like that. And then I told my devotee assistants, I said, immediately go and put that money in the account, get the receipt, scan it and email it right now. You know, that it is deposited in Janmashtami fund. And after I did that, again he called, Prabhuji, thank you very much, Prabhuji. I got the receipt, Prabhuji, now it is sorted. I said, yes, wonderful, wonderful, everything nice. You see, you may say, कि इतना अंडरस्टैंडिंग नहीं है क्या तुम्हारा, इतना क्लियरली बात होने के बाद भी तुम अभी डाउट करता है, you know? So there is no point in we becoming angry with them. If you remember, do you see people as problem or opportunity to learn or mirror or whatever? So it's better that we don't get upset. We understand this is the nature of Vyavahar. Bhavana baad mein, Vyavahar pehle, when it comes to resource, financial or otherwise. So please learn this concept and drill it down into your psyche to make sure that you don't land up in major hassles later on. Same thing applies to the properties that people offer to ISKCON. They will give some property, usually they have some conditioned supply, you know, kind of situation. हमारे मंदिर में एक बार फोन आया, हमारे पास एक गाड़ी है, मंदिर को देना चाहते हैं. So we were so naive at that time and we were really poor. We had no resources. So we really got jumped out. Yes, you can bring the car, we'll use it, you know, for temple, this, that. And that fellow brought, it was such a dilapidated Fiat. Yes. You know, the old Fiat, you know, that that kind of structure, you know. Oh my God, that vehicle, uska maintenance cost was more than its running cost, you know. And every day some natak, you know, one day the tire went off, you know, away from the car. Another day, you know, engine is not starting. Third day, some carburetor problem, this problem, that. We got so fed up. After 3-4 months of keeping that car and spending so much money, we took the car and gave it back to that fellow. Said, "आप ही संभालो आपकी गाड़ी को, नहीं चाहिए you know, मंदिर में." So sometimes we are too naive. We don't understand. Usually people, whatever is most, you know, dilapidated, old, not to be used ever by them, you know, they say, "ये मंदिर को देना चाहते हैं." It's something like people ask, na, why practice Krishna consciousness in youth? Why not in old age? The same logic. अभी ओल्ड एज में उसका सिर्फ मेंटेनेंस कॉस्ट आने वाला है उसका कुछ रनिंग कॉस्ट, ही कांट डू एनी परफॉर्मेंस. वो बोलते हमारे पास एक गाड़ी है, खटारा, मंदिर को डोनेट करना चाहते हैं. बोले तुम्हारे पास ही रखो उसको, नहीं चाहिए. तुम मेंटेन करो उसको, हम बीच बीच में थोड़ा सा सेवा ले लेंगे. You know, so we have to be very careful. These conditional deeds that people do of some, property, gift, land, and we are so naive sometimes we don't ask those terms and conditions upfront. What do they want? Like one fellow, he came and talked to me. He wanted to start a big flat system scheme, and in his area, Hinjewadi, he was saying, I will give land to ISKCON, 2-acre land, and you all come and construct your temple here. So twice I asked him and his assistant, is this a conditional deed or you are giving it for free to ISKCON without any tax attached? He said, yes, no, from our side, no considerations. It's all, God's, it's all God's thing. We are giving it to God and all that. Then I took one senior devotee who handles our construction and land related dealings and went to see that property. After showing the whole thing, the fellow comes down. After that he says, but only thing is, we just expect that you give us 1,000 rupees per square foot for this land that we are giving you. I said, why? He said, because that's the land cost at which we purchased it, and in case, the center flourishes, doesn't flourish, we don't know. So we are not taking such a big risk. And so in the name of ISKCON, he will raise the price of the flats, he will make separate profit. That's a different story. But even this land that he is giving, he is having a tag attached. And I got so upset. I said, अरे पहले पूछा तुमको, इतना सारा घुमा के, time waste करके तुमको क्या मिल रहा है? Why should you not say it right in the front? So I am giving some examples like this. You have to not be so naive. And usually in this material world, nothing comes for free. People have their own agendas. So we better be careful. And even with devotees also, we should be careful. Not just outsiders, because devotees it's generally in the bhavana level, and if something goes wrong later on in Vyavahar, it becomes damage to Krishna's mission only. So we end there. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.